Salutations, this is George from Ireland, and this video is about Guy Fawkes Night, or Bonfire Night, as it's sometimes known. Remember, the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. That's the well-known ditty. I don't think quite so many school children know it now. And forgive me for this video being a bit late for the 5th of November. So why is it that the United Kingdom explodes in fireworks on the 5th of November each year? Countries with significant British immigrant communities, such as Canada and Australia, apparently they have Bonfire Night, but to a rather smaller extent. I knew someone who grew up in South Africa in the 1950s, and in the 50s there, a few people celebrated it. So it's a night for outdoor socialising and drinking, toffee, apples, candy floss, revelry, and burning effigies of a guy. Who is the guy? Not just any man, because I know guy is obviously passed into argot to mean any man or boy. So what is Bonfire Night all about? Well, it's about this man named Guy Fawkes, who was arrested on the 5th of November, 1605, under the Houses of Parliament in a cellar with many barrels of gunpowder. So who was he? Why was he trying to blow up the Houses of Parliament? So rewind to 1605. King James I was on the throne of England. And James I of England was also James VI, King of Scots, who became King of Scotland, then became King of England. And the Church of England was the established church in England. It was a Protestant church. Scotland was also a Protestant country, blah, blah, blah. However, there was a Catholic minority in England, a tiny one, but they tended to be quite wealthy, well-connected, and had to worship clandestinely because Catholic worship was a crime, and priests, if they were found, were executed. But anyway, the story goes that Guy Fawkes and a few co-conspirators, they thought, how can we bring back Catholicism? It's the only true religion. Because that was not an era of religious equality. People took the view that your faith was very much the government's business, and it was not your right to believe what you wanted, worship how you wished. The government had to enforce people worshipping in the right way and believing the right sort of Christianity. And as for not being a Christian in countries like England and Scotland, we'll just forget it. That's absolutely not allowed. So Guy Fawkes and his friends knew that they were very few in number. The high majority of people were Protestants. How could this tiny Catholic minority possibly defeat them, put a Roman Catholic on the throne, bring back Catholicism as the state religion? They said, well, the only way you can do this, because we're outnumbered, is to wipe out the leadership of the country. There's 1 hour a year when the entire leadership of the country is in one room. That's the state opening of Parliament, the first week of November. The king, the queen, the princes, the princesses, the archbishops, the bishops, the lords, the members of parliament, the generals, the admirals, the judges, anyone who's anyone is in that room. If a bomb goes off in that room, we will decapitate the state, and then it'll be relatively easy to take over. So that's the story. They rented a nearby house. It had a cellar. They dug a bit of a tunnel from the cellar under the Houses of Parliament. They purchased gunpowder. This is the tricky bit. Where on earth did they get the gunpowder from? Gunpowder was obviously restricted because it was very dangerous. It was the most potent weapon around in 1605. A lot of gunpowder went missing from the Tower of London a few months before this. Is that where it came from? But anyway, so the gunpowder plotters, they were gathering in the West Midlands. Many of them came from landowning families in the West Midlands. Kill the king. They were going to seize his daughter, who was living in the countryside, Lady Arabella, and put her on the throne. But anyway, Lord Monteagle, a Roman Catholic aristocrat, was going to go to the House of Lords for the State of England Parliament, and late at night, a man arrived saying, "Give this letter to your master," giving it to a servant, and Lord Monteagle read the letter, which, well, I'll update the English saying, "Do not go to Parliament tomorrow, make up some excuse. Everyone there will be hit. They will not see the hand that hits them." How can that make sense? You'll be hit but not see the hand that hits them. Must be a bomb. But anyway, he informed the king. The king had the cellar searched. they arrested Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes was not the ringleader. He was simply the first of the plotters to be arrested. And King James took personal charge of the interrogation, was not there to question him, but he gave orders, writing a mixture of English and Latin, to torture this man, because that usually wasn't allowed. An exception was made, and go for worse and worse tortures if you will not give in to the milder ones. Guy Fawkes held out for quite a long time, but eventually broke under torture, and he revealed the names of his confederates. They were all rounded up, and that was that. So the king was saved. So Guy Fawkes Night is about celebrating the defeat of the gunpowder plot. Guy Fawkes and his friends, they were executed in January 1606 to be hanged, drawn and quartered. A particularly gruesome method of execution because for treason, as it wouldn't be the foulest crime of all. So half hanged, not enough to kill them, just to cause them great pain and distress. Not dropped, but just lifted up by the neck, and then dragged backwards by a horse across the street, backwards as their crime was a retrograde to nature. That was a symbolism of it. So along the street, the bumpy, stony street, you can imagine the cuts, the bruises, the agony that caused, eventually being quartered, as in arms, legs, and privities cut off. And finally the head cut off, stuck on a pike, and that was on London Bridge. And as the head came off, the masked headsman would hold it up and say, "Behold, the head of a traitor." The arms and the legs sent to different corners of the realm as a warning to anyone who was contemplating conspiring against their sovereign lord. This is what you get. So justice would be seen to be done. So it was a horrific ritual way to kill somebody. These were very dark and barbarous times, the early 17th century. So that was that. There are people who say, oh, come on, the gunpowder plot is not real. You should read Lady Antonia Fraser's book, The Gunpowder Plot. Some people think there was no gunpowder plot. Maybe there were government spies, agents provocateurs, in there to get the Catholic community to do this, or they just tortured Guy Fawkes into giving false testimony against other people. It was just anti-Catholic hysteria. The Catholic community in England was tiny. There's no way they could succeed, even if they did blow up Parliament. They recognised they could only succeed with the help of a major foreign power. Only a year before, England had made peace with the mighty Roman Catholic country, Spain, and that was that. King James I wasn't that bad to the Catholic community. That's why Lord Monteagle, a Catholic, was allowed to go to the House of Lords. King James I was in secret correspondence with the Pope, hinting he might come back to Catholicism. His wife, Anne of Denmark, the same. Anyway, so we'll probably never get to the bottom of it. But because of Bonfire Night, communities gather on their green or on the city park, and for weeks beforehand, scrap timber will be collected as firewood. A guy is made to mean a dummy, an image of Guy Fawkes. There's only one contemporaneous drawing of him with his pointy beard. It was a fashion at the time. And the guy on the bonfire doesn't have to be Guy Fawkes. It could be anyone who's the enemy of the United Kingdom at the time. Or prior to that, England, Louis XIV of France, Napoleon, Kaiser Wilhelm II, Adolf Hitler, Gamal Abdel Nasser, Leopoldo Galtieri. Could have even been Jerry Adams, Saddam Hussein, people like that, Osama bin Laden. So on television, weeks beforehand, people are warned not to let children set off their own fireworks. The unwisdom of some people with fireworks is staggering, because you can burn yourself, you can kill yourself with them. Certain types, we call them French bangers, are outlawed in the United Kingdom. So Bonfire Night existed long before Guy Fawkes came around. Autumn leaves were gathered. This is a good time to do it, around the 5th of November. It was convenient and convivial to burn these in company. One of the last times a year when being outside at night for a prolonged period wasn't too cold. So when Gunpowder Night was unmasked, Gunpowder Plot was unmasked, people then turned this autumn leaf burning into a barbecue, and so the tradition has continued. The lighting fires outside at night to signal victory, going back sometime beforehand, well, certainly after the Armada, certainly later on after the Battle of Waterloo. So there was a strong strain of anti-Catholicism through Bonfire Night. And anti-Catholicism only died out in the United Kingdom in the 20th century. In nationalist areas of Northern Ireland, people are not keen on Guy Fawkes Night because most nationalists are Catholics. In the Republic of Ireland, we don't mark Guy Fawkes Night, people say it's anti-Catholic, and a high majority of us are Catholics. In Lewes, a small town on the southern coast of England, the Pope's image is still burnt. I don't think people are actually against the Pope, but it's just a custom, perhaps a distasteful one, which carries on to this very day. So for many people, there's the merest vestige of the original significance of Guy Fawkes Night left. It's just a celebration, and people may not understand the true meaning of the occasion. So many Catholics mark the occasion as well as a genial family event. I'm from a Catholic background, and I do it as well. So that's that. It's a fascinating and pleasant soirée, Bonfire Night. Now you know what it's about. If you're in the United Kingdom around the 5th of November and the fireworks are going on, you think, what? It's not New Year. So people who are not from the British Isles are often unaware of why that happens. So that's it. A bonfire is a fire lit outside deliberately. It's not an accidental fire, as a celebration. And Parliament, indeed, it passed the Thanksgiving Act to say that we will now give thanks for the King being saved from this dastardly plot at the time. Obviously, Thanksgiving in the American sense only started some years later in America, not in the British Isles.